It is so great to have you. We are going to get started in a moment. We're going to be using Nearpod, as you can imagine, to learn about Nearpod today. So I'd love to invite you into the Nearpod. All right, let's do this. You're going to leave here knowing tons of cool new tricks. But before we do, I'd love for you to join me in the Nearpod lesson that we're going to be using. When you are joining a Nearpod lesson, you can go in one of two ways. You can go to join.nearpod.com and enter in the code that you see on the screen, RFZ4C, or you can join the webinar or join the Nearpod by clicking here. You'll see a page that looks a little bit like this. But of course, it's always best if you can experience this yourself. Click along as a student, and that way you'll be able to see what participants will feel in your sessions as well. You're going to join as a guest where it says join as a guest. I'm going to click there. My name is already there, and then I'm going to click join lesson. That's going to take me to a collaborate board. And this is where you get to think, introduce yourself, tell us where do you work and what is your role, and then share what has been your favorite PD as either a participant or as a facilitator. And then think, why was it your favorite? Pretty fun, right? Okay, go ahead. Feel free to respond by typing in your response in the text box right here. So you can say, and then say your name. I work at Ogden, let's say, and then tell us about your favorite PD. When you're ready to post, you'll click on the blue post button that looks a little bit like an airplane shooting off in outer space. Perfect. Welcome, Deanna. Yes, love that. Any PD made with Nearpod because it's so engaging. Okay. Extra brownie points there. Awesome. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Also quite impressive. It looks like we have 7 people, including me in the session, and 7 people in our Nearpod. That doesn't happen often, folks. Another gold star. Pretty great. All right, go ahead. Yes, Candace. And if you're just joining us, we are just getting started. You're not missing a thing. We're introducing ourselves here in the Nearpod. So I'd love for you to join us in the Nearpod by going to the Zoom chat, clicking on the link that you see there, and that's going to bring you into the Nearpod. Nearpods are my new fave. Thank you for the wealth of information. Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. The Teaching and Learning Conference 2021. Oh, Candace, I wish I was there. All online, accessible, and applicable. You didn't have to leave your home, and yet learned a wealth of information that's applicable. I mean, I think that's key. Okay, welcome, Sid. Aurora Institute. Because I eat, sleep, and breathe personalized, competency-based learning. Oh, that is awesome. Y'all are a good time. I can tell just from these posts so far. This is fantastic. Well, it is great to have you here. Let's take about 45 more seconds, just in case anybody else wants to introduce themselves on the Nearpod collaborate board that we're using. And if you haven't had a chance to join the Nearpod yet, just go to the Zoom chat and you'll find the link right there. Interesting. So it's interesting that 3 folks have mentioned some type of like institute or conference because it was so much content that was applicable. That's really great. Love it. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Well, it is fabulous, fabulous to have you here. My name is Lisa Wilcoxon, and I'm a district strategy consultant for Utah. I am your district strategy consultant. And so that just means that when you have questions, when you have thoughts, when you have wonderings, when you have need help and support, I am your gal, and I'd love to help you talk pedagogy, talk Nearpod, and how you can put those two together. It is an absolute privilege for me to be here with you today, and I just am super excited for us to go forward. Because today, folks, we're going to be talking about not just anything. We're going to be talking about instructional leadership with Nearpod and how we can take the professional development that we already have, the professional development that we are planning, and Nearpodize it. Yes, it's a verb. Add it, Merriam-Webster. It's a new verb. We're going to Nearpodize. Okay. And here's what we're actually doing as we Nearpodize. We're going to, I have a little draw on the screen. This is to make these objectives even more fun and interactive for you. Here's what you're going to see. I'm going to actually roll up the instructions so we can see the entire screen here. The learning objectives for today are that by the end of the session, you're going to be able to transform existing resources that you have into Nearpod resources to increase participation and feedback for all stakeholders. And you're going to consider adult learning principles when designing professional development with Nearpod going forward. Of course, we've got two different ISTE standards that we are considering as we go through today's session. One is we're going to be communicating effectively with stakeholders to gather input on our plan, celebrate successes, and engage in continuous improvement cycle. And we're going to support instructors and educators in using technology to advance learning. So these are our goals. I'm not sure, though, what sticks out to you as the thing that you're most excited about? The instructions here say read the learning objectives and key topics for today's session. Highlight or annotate anything that you are most interested in. Add a text box with a personal learning goal that you might have set for today. Remember, the tools are at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to use the marker, you can change the color and you can show me what are you most excited about. Maybe you want to use the highlighter, change the diameter of it, and tell me what is sticking out to you. Or maybe there's something else that's not on here that you are excited to learn yourself, so you can add a little text box and type away. I'll give you about a minute to do so. Awesome. As you know, I can see what's going on the back end on my teacher screen. It's really fantastic because I can see where you are at in this process. I'd love to share that with you so you can see as well what it looks like from my end. I can click on the teacher dashboard, and then I can click toggle on teacher, and then I can see everyone's screen here. And so I can see that most of us are pretty excited about transforming our existing resources, which is great. I can even share this with you so that you can see as well. So now on your own screen, you too can see someone else's annotations, which is awesome. I'm going to take that back. Now you can see your own. And just like that, how fun, right? Okay, I see a lot of us are also excited about considering adult learning principles, which is truly critical when we think about the adult learners in our room. Awesome. Okay, great. Let's keep going. So as we go through today's session, you might be tempted to take notes. Please do. Hopefully lots of ideas are going to be flying into your brain. Now, to enable the notes feature, you just need to go to the upper right-hand corner where you see the little pad and paper. If you click on that, you're going to have 3 options pop out in the bump out menu. You can send yourself notes via email, save your notes to your Google Drive, or save your notes to your OneDrive. I'm going to click send via email, and then I'm going to type in my email address. And now I know, because I trust the universe, that I was sent an email that has a link to this PDF. And it's going to have a link to all of the slides that we use today in this Nearpod lesson. I'm not going to click on that link yet because I want to wait until the end of the PD so that every slide that is presented is captured in those notes. So if you want to do this, you absolutely can. And if you don't want to take notes, you don't need to at all. But if you do enable the notes, you'll be able to have access to every slide that I show you in our session today. So let me give you a minute to enable those notes if you would like. A moment, not a minute. And if you're just joining us, awesome. Good morning. Welcome. If you'd like to join the Nearpod, click on the hyperlink that I just shared with you in the Nearpod, or in the Zoom chat, not the Nearpod, the Zoom chat. All right, awesome. So as we go, you don't need to take notes on the things I'm saying. Take notes on the big ahas, the awesome ideas that are coming into your head. That's what's most important here. Okay. Now, to help me know how much detail I should be giving you as we go through today's session, I just would love to know, what is your familiarity with Nearpod so far? We've got a poll on the screen, and you're just going to tell me. Have you heard of it, but you're not really sure what it is? You're just here, you want to learn more? Great. Have you heard of it and you think you understand what it is? Great. If you've explored Nearpod before, great. And if you use Nearpod and you love Nearpod, that's where you belong. Hopefully you'll find a spot that is right for you, and then click submit. All right, fantastic. Yes. Okay, great. Let me show you what our data is looking like. It looks like we've got about 40% have used Nearpod, 40% have explored, and 30% use and love Nearpod. So maybe 70% there, are Nearpod users. Love to see that. And then we've got about 10% who have heard of it, and we think we understand what it is. Great. Okay. So this session is a little bit more geared towards our advanced users, right? This isn't really a beginner session, but don't worry, I will hold your hand for the person who is brand new to Nearpod. I am sure that as you go through today's session, you're seeing this from the student lens. You're going to be able to better understand how Nearpod might be able to support you and your goals. All right, so let's keep going. Now, as the screen is moving along here. All right, so right now we're thinking about this from the lens of instructional leaders, right? So as an instructional leader, I want you to think about, what are the various opportunities that you have to share information with others? So if you're not an instructional leader, you can just think about the different ways that you currently are communicating with your students and with others. List as many as you can that come to mind. Anytime that you are communicating with others. Could be a lesson. Yes. Oh my gosh, look at all these great ideas coming up. Oh my gosh. I hope this is a bit cathartic, right? Get it all out. There's a lot that we do. Oh my gosh, faculty meetings, district PD, faculty PD, emails, conversations, coaching cohorts, newsletters, webinars, screencasts, emails, on-site convenings, webinars, conferences. Yes, parent emails, school emails. Yep, district emails for sure. Oh my gosh, so many things. Well, the hope is that we might be able to use Nearpod for many, if not all, of these different ways that we are communicating with others. And also Screencastify, discovered in the last year, life-changing. Lunchtime collaboration emails. Oh my gosh, so many. So just a couple of the ones that came to my mind that I thought we might consider, like PTA meetings, right? Parent outreach. We named newsletters. Of course, we have staff meetings, we have professional development, we have cohorts here, we have conferences there. Many, many ways that we are communicating with different stakeholders that we work with to get our job done. I want to show you what a Nearpod might look like for each of these different examples. So I have a Nearpod example for each of those four different categories: professional development, staff meeting, parent outreach, and PTA or PTO meeting. So let's just look at staff meeting, for example. If you want to look at the example for staff meeting, you are going to hover above the box that says staff meeting. When you click on it, you're going to see a preview of a Nearpod lesson that could be used for a staff meeting. Notice that for me, oh, maybe it's not going to open. Okay, so that one did not open. The staff meeting one did not. I can put that link into the chat. Don't you worry. Let's hope that all the others. PTO. Okay, it opened for you, Amy. Well, that's good. Something's wrong with me over here. Okay, good. And then professional development. How strange that it didn't open for me. Okay, so far, my professional development, parent outreach, PTO, PTA opened, but the staff meeting, for some reason, didn't. Maybe it's going to open now. Maybe it just needed to warm up, just like all of my computers today. Okay, great. Look, now it did open. Amy, you gave me hope. Phew. All right, so now we have each of those opened. You don't need to explore all of them. But I'd love to give you about a minute and a half, so 90 seconds, to explore the ones that you would like. So let's say you wanted to do professional development, you would click on it, and then you would have the blue arrows to walk through what a sample professional development would look like in Nearpod. So feel free to just look through, see what's inside, and consider how using a Nearpod might be useful for you given your context. All right, I'll give you 90 seconds, have some fun, and I'll see you then. All right, so now you've had a chance to explore what Nearpod could look like for all of these different ways that we communicate with stakeholders. What I'd love to do is to give you a moment to reflect on this. So we have an open-ended question here. The question says, considering the resources that you explored, how do you foresee Nearpod being helpful for you and or your stakeholders? Feel free to type up your response or record yourself. Take a minute to do so. These responses are amazing. Okay, I'd love to just share a couple with you because the thoughts that you're having, the ideas that you're having are really great to push our conversation. So here's one that I think is really interesting. Using Nearpod allows teachers to collaborate on many different levels throughout a PD and get quick, real feedback from them throughout. It allows parents more detailed information and opportunities to provide feedback than just an email. Awesome. Okay, check this one out. Using Nearpod for any of these situations would be so helpful because you could refer back to the Nearpod for more information if needed. You could also send it out for those who were not in attendance. Think about the parent nights that you have, right? I used to have literacy night, and not everybody can come. And it's you plan all of this information to be jam-packed into these evenings, but of course not everybody can come. But sending it out in Nearpod where you have the opportunities for feedback, for participation, people who weren't able to attend can still take away a lot from that. Okay, great. Let's look at this one too. Using Nearpod is a great way to reach everyone at one time with awesome visuals and great interaction of using Nearpod. The students can also navigate the Nearpod for or with their parents. So thoughtful. Yeah, because our kids are hopefully a Nearpod experts here, right? And so they know what they're doing. Okay, I love that. Thank you so much for thinking that through. Okay, so we know that using Nearpod can be really useful. Now I want us to think about all of the resources that we have already used, created, cultivated for the professional development that we give. What I want you to be thinking about is what would happen if you used the same resources that you typically use, but use them in a new way. Let's watch to start thinking about this to get to our to whet our appetite a bit. To do this, I'm going to share a video with you. Now, this video is classic, a wonderful, one of my favorites, can be used for a lot of different things. And in this video, you're going to see a staircase and you're going to see an escalator. And the questions that I have for you is, there are some changes that happen. What changes in the video and what remains the same? And how can whatever changes apply be applied to the resources that we already use for instruction? So first, just think about what is changing during the session, during the video, and what is remaining the same. All right, I'm going to play this from my screen. So go ahead, sit back, relax, and enjoy. I hope you enjoyed that. One of my ultimate favorites. Now let's reflect on this just a little bit. On the screen, you should see a collaborate board, and it has those 3 questions for you. It says, what remained the same, what changed, and how can this apply to the resources you already use to deliver instruction to your students, or deliver PD to your participants. Type your response at the very bottom, and then you can choose which column to post it in. What remained the same, what changed, or how can this apply? All right, look at this. Okay, yes. All right, so what remained the same? Well, there was still an escalator, there were still stairs, and they were still serving the same purpose. Yes, they still functioned the same. Both of them were a method for folks to get from point A to point B. Absolutely. Yes. Same way to get to their destination. It is going to take people from point A to point B. Commuters wanted to do it as quickly as possible, right? That did not change. And typically we know folks don't want to take the stairs. It takes more effort, right? That is not as fun for folks as taking an escalator, not exerting as much effort, not getting all sweaty before you get to your destination. Absolutely. And yet, what changed is they added a musical element to the stairs. Just that simple musical element increased curiosity, right? It made people actively engage on the stairs. More people took the stairs because there was some novelty. Yes. Oh, there was interaction. There was feedback that folks got from taking the stairs. And it made the stairs much more fun, shall we say? Because it was fun, they took advantage of it. Oh my gosh, I love this one. Even the elderly man chose the stairs. So cute. Yes, people who may have avoided the stairs before chose to exert that energy. Some of them who were just wanting to get from point A to point B before now spent more time on the stairs. They went backwards, they went forwards, they were hopping, right? Now that exerted energy, but they did it with a smile on their face. When we think about how this can apply to the resources that we're already using, we can think about, oh, I love this, taking something and giving it that extra, a little sparkle to make it more engaging. Yes, delivering content in new ways can lead to more engagement and enjoyment. Engagement and enjoyment, yes. Still serves the same purpose, but provides more opportunities for interaction and feedback. These are such great ideas. Take information presented in a new, engaging way, making assignments more interactive, more interesting, and more fun to complete. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. That is absolutely right. Okay, fantastic. So that's what we're thinking about right now. That's what we want to do. We want to take the resources we already have. We don't want to throw away the baby with the bathwater, right? We want to take the things that we already know work and just Nearpodize them a little bit so that they are more interactive, more engaging. So with that, let's get on into our Nearpod accounts from the teacher perspective. I'm going to ask you to open up a new tab. I already have so many tabs here. I'm going to ask you to open up a new tab where you are logged into Nearpod from the teacher end. So for me, I just go to nearpod.com and I'm already logged in. And when I'm logged in, this is the homepage that I get to. I've got lots of folders and I've got lots of lessons that I have been working on. When you get to nearpod.com/login, you're going to see multiple different ways that you too can log in. You can log in using Clever, using ClassLink, using Google Single Sign-On. All of us in this room, virtual room, log in using different methods. And so you're going to want to log in using the method that is right for you. When you are logged in, tell me you're logged in by saying, I'm in the chat. All right, Deanna, Candace, yes, Amy. All right, Sid, all right, Stacy, yes, Becky. All right, you are in. Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, I'm so glad to see this. So here's the deal. Once you're in, we know that we can create Nearpod lessons or Nearpod PD using one of three different ways. We can use PDFs that we are comfortable with. We can use videos. We can use Google Slides. We can use PowerPoint. We can use Google Slides with the Google Slide add-on. So many different ways that we can present. I'd love to know from you, which is the way that you would like me to model as the foundational material that you're going to use. So for example, you have three different options here. Would you prefer to create a Nearpod presentation using a Nearpod lesson, using the Google Slide editor, or uploading your own resources? Just gonna refresh, always my favorite thing to do here. So really slow for me. Hopefully you are seeing a poll hop up on your board. I see responses coming on in, so maybe you are. And my computer is just having a day, just having a day. All right, here we go. All right, so you could build the Nearpod lesson using the Nearpod slide editor. You can use the Google Slides add-on, or you could upload your own resources using PowerPoint, Google Slides, PDF, or images. Feel free to tell me which of those you are most likely to do. Wow, really interesting data coming on in. If you haven't had a chance to select yet, go for it. You might need to do a little refresh yourself here. All right, here's what I'm seeing. Believe it or not, many of us are most excited about building a Nearpod lesson using the Nearpod slide editor. Very cool. Okay, great. So let me show you how to do that very quickly. And then I'm gonna let you experiment. So on the screen right now, it says it's workshop time. During this workshop time, feel free to experiment on your own or watch my screen as I model for you how to use the Nearpod slide editor. If you want directions for how you can use your own resources, I've linked this slide right here. Check it out. Each of these squares here are hyperlinked. So if you want directions for how to upload your own resources, or you use the Nearpod slide editor, or use Google Slides, well, all of those are hyperlinked right now. Let me show you how you can use the Nearpod slide editor. To use the Nearpod slide editor, you would go to Create and then click Lesson from your homepage. From there, you're going to be taken to a blank Nearpod lesson that you can start creating and having a great time. The first thing you're probably going to want to do is just name your lesson. So I might say Lisa's PD. Okay. I'm not sure what this is going to be on yet, you know? Then the first slide, well, if I want to create a slide, I might want to click on this plus sign right here that says plus add content and activities. So I'll click there. And the content that I'm going to be adding would be slides, the very first one that I see. So I'm going to click there where it says slides. Now a blank slide is going to open. It's as if I'm creating a slide in PowerPoint or in Google Slides, but I'm doing it directly in Nearpod. So I could change the text right here. This is my slide. I can click here. I can add text, welcome, while you wait. Type your name in the chat. Okay, I added my own text here. I can change the type of text, the type of font at the very top where I have this toolbar of options, just like we normally do, right? I have different text options, Architect's Daughter, one of my favorites, font types. I can change the size of this font. I can make it bold, italicized, underlined, just like we normally would do. I can even hyperlink this text by clicking on the chain and then adding in the URL that I would like to take my participants to when they click there. I can click save. I can even add in a video by clicking on the video icon at the very top of the screen, find a video on YouTube, or find a video on my own computer that I want to upload. Maybe I just want to add in an image. So I'm going to click on the image icon. Let's find an image from Google Safe Search that has to do with welcome. So I'm just going to search for welcome. So many cute welcomes. I like this one today. Nice welcome. I click on it. I click save. And now that image is going to show up. I can change the size of that image. I can also rotate that image to make it just right. And I can move that image to where I'd like. At the very bottom of the screen, I can click save. And now I've created my very first slide in this Nearpod presentation. Of course, that slide was not interactive, but I could make it interactive. I could have added that video. I could have added hyperlinks. I could have added audio, or we can start to add content and activities. And we're going to get into that next. So finish up whatever you were just working on, whether you were watching my screen and following along, whether you were trying to upload your own resources through Google Slides or through PowerPoint. Okay, great. Now let's talk about the actual content of our presentations. We know where we're starting, right? We're either using PowerPoint, we're creating it fresh in Nearpod slide editor, or we're using Google Slide add-on. All of those are great options. But what is it that we should actually add? Well, let's first think about what we're talking about today. We're talking about creating professional development for adults. Now, pedagogy is what we typically are thinking about when we are creating lessons for children. Here is how Merriam-Webster defines pedagogy versus andragogy. Pedagogy is the art and science of teaching. Okay. Typically, when we talk about pedagogy, we're talking about teaching children. Andragogy is the art or science of teaching adults. And so today we're going to be talking more about andragogy when we are designing our PD. And so let's think about that. What should we be keeping in mind when we are designing Nearpod PD for adult learners? I have another collaborate board for you, and this one just asks you to give advice to Mr. McCartney. It says Mr. McCartney is planning his first PD for teachers at his school. What should he keep in mind when designing professional development for these adult learners? Go ahead and share. These are great. Okay, first of all, we know it needs to be meaningful. It needs to be engaging for adults. Definitely important to remember that not all adults are comfortable with technology. Yes. Teachers like to collaborate. Yeah, absolutely. And we're social beings, right? Plan PD that teachers are interested, right? They have to be intrinsically motivated to attend and to want to learn more about this subject. Absolutely. Deanna, yes, adults come in with various experiences and knowledge about the subject. We don't want to just assume that they are coming in without background that is relevant. Plan for time to make meaning. Yes, and apply new skills. Apply new skills and knowledge in a relevant way. Don't assume they already know what you're talking about. You need to break it down. So smart. Adults tend to not know what they don't know. Oh, so true. Allow time for collaboration and exploration. Okay, these are spot on. Absolutely. Okay, so some key differences when we're thinking about andragogy and pedagogy, right? Of course, we know that the ages are going to be different, but when it comes to learning and instruction, well, when it comes to adult learners, we want to make sure that we provide more self-directed learning. You'll notice in that last workshop time, I provided you with a little bit of opportunity to choose your own path. Of course, our time together is very short, but we were able to decide, did you want to pay attention to me? Did you want to upload your own resources? Did you want to make a Nearpod in the Nearpod slide editor? Content, we want it to be on individual learner goals. As you noticed from the beginning of this PD, I shared with you what our objectives were for our time together, but I wanted to know what you specifically were interested in learning during our time. In order for you to attend here today, you had to be pretty intrinsically motivated, all right? Hopefully you didn't feel forced or coerced into coming to today's session, and you have your own motivations for being here. And as you already shared, you have many life experiences to build upon. So when we are designing PDs for our adult learners, well, we want to be able to maximize those experiences as well. Just a couple more things to keep in mind when we are thinking about adult learning theory. So we've already defined it, right? We know that this is where we are keeping in mind what adults need in order to apply their learning to the real world. We want to make sure that our PDs provide an opportunity for our teachers to actually apply the learning that we are sharing and put it into practice. Some ways that some important concepts to keep in mind that are relevant in adult learning theory is the believe to achieve. And what that means is that Adults need to know that their goals are achievable in the time that you are together. Okay, we already talked about how important real world application is. I tried to give you a tiny little example of that when we did when we just shared advice with Mr. McCartney, right? What advice would you give Mr. McCartney when planning PD? There's real world application here. You are using your own resources to create a PD. You're not creating a PD that I am directing towards you. You are doing your own application of it. Small group activities are difficult to achieve, and yet you still can use things like the Collaborate board in order for collaboration to take place. Then you also have the 70-30 rule, and that is about 70% of your PDs should be active participation, and only 30% should be talking and lecturing. I know, crazy, right? Another thing to keep in mind is the see, do, and teach principle, which means that we only are able to remember about 10% of what we are seeing, about 20% of what we are hearing, and about 15% of what we are saying. But when we practice seeing it and doing it, and then saying it aloud or teaching it, well, we are going to remember about 90% of what was actually taught during that session. So the application piece is just so critical. The last thing to keep in mind is that when we can appeal to the adults in our room and think about their emotional experiences, they are much more likely to lock in what we are sharing into their emotional memories. All right, let me give you some examples of how you can use Nearpod for each of those. So one, not for each of those, but just some examples of how we can leverage Nearpod for this. So one is how we can use web content. There are tons of resources all across the internet that you can put into your Nearpod lessons. Find a URL for a Collaborate board, for a Padlet, for a Jamboard, and you can put it directly into a Nearpod so everyone can look at it together and can start to create this shared understanding and collaborate together. Maybe you want to provide deeper understanding or provide choice to your learners. Adding in web content is one way that you can do so. As you've already experienced in this lesson alone, there are tons of Nearpod activities that you can use in your Nearpod lessons. You can add in draws and matching pairs and Collaborate boards and open-ended questions and drag and drops. And you can also add in Nearpod content, such as videos or web-based pages or 3D models or virtual reality. You can make this content that you are teaching come to life by adding in activities that are paired with content so that folks have a chance to apply what they are learning in a more real world setting. It's going to increase the rigor of what you are discussing and make it much more interesting as well. As we know, the emotional piece of what we are talking about is really important as well. Some ways that you can increase the positive culture of your sessions are to think about how you can create more ownership for your participants. One is just using the Nearpod Notes feature. We enabled that at the beginning of today's session as well. Hopefully you felt like you're taking notes on the things that are relevant for you. You can also include some gamified quizzes like Time to Climb, which is a way to increase joy and fun and make, there a little bit of a competitive nature to what you are sharing. And you can use things like the Collaborate board, a really, really great interactive activity that allows folks to draw on their own experiences and build on the ideas that have been generated. Okay, given this, I'd love to see where you are by giving you your own time to climb to have some fun as we go. So we're going to see what we actually have learned during this time together with our own time to climb. So if this is your very first time seeing a time to climb, well, awesome. When a teacher has embedded a time to climb in a session, you have the option as soon as the a time to climb comes up to choose what the setting is you'd like. I'm going to do beach because it's summertime. I'm going to randomize those answers and I'm not going to have us pause between. I'm also going to turn off the sound for all of our student devices, so it's just coming from my computer. Okay, with that, your job is to choose your avatar. You have characters at the very bottom of the screen. Choose the one that you would like. I'm going to choose the old panda and click join game. Now it's your turn. All right, perfect. Come on in. All right, let's get those competitive juices going. We've learned a lot during this session, and let's put it into practice. Ready, set, let's do it. All right. Yes, not learning by extrinsic factors. Absolutely. Oh, yes. All of the above can absolutely be barriers to learning. Nice job. You're killing it. What they do. Let's get them doing all of the above. Yeah, let's not. No more lecturing, right? Awesome. Check it out. All right, pretty exciting. I want to know. Stacy, Candace, Deanna, we've got our winners right there. Congratulations. All right, let's do it. Awesome. So in this time together, we have learned how we can create a presentation with our resources. We've learned how we can add activities and content to enhance the learning experience and use Nearpod to support instructional practices that we are already doing. You have been absolutely incredible during this time together. And I just would love to give you an opportunity to reflect and consider how were your adult learning needs considered throughout this PD, and What steps did you learn today to support your PD planning using Nearpod? You have a chance to reflect on the screen with the collaborate board. And as we do, I have a feeling that Jamie here has a link that we can use to receive credit for today. Jamie, you are on top of it. So awesome. So feel free to respond here, but I do know that it is 10 o'clock. So if you do need to go, get on out of here. In the chat, Jamie has shared a link to get credit for today's session. Click on that link, and then you're going to be able to get your certificate. And then if you have a chance to reflect, feel free to reflect. But also, like I said, I do know you gotta go. We already went 2 minutes over. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll stick around to answer questions. But I so appreciate you being here. Sorry about the timing, and sorry we started a couple seconds too late. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jamie. Good information, relevant and interactive. Awesome. Awesome. So glad. Love this. Thank you so much. Using the information when planning future PD. Yes. Interact with teachers and parents in a great new way. Oh, awesome. If you do want to just send me what you've created in the future, I'm so excited to take a look at it. Take care. Okay. Have a good one. All right. I will be sending out an email with the resources from today later. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.